So once again, welcome to our virtual open house. And we appreciate you joining us tonight. We realize that the decision about where to go for graduate school is a significant decision, and working on a graduate degree takes a lot of time and effort and money. And so we appreciate you taking the time to learn more about what we have to offer here at Dearborn, and hope that we answer all the questions that you have about our available programs. As I mentioned, my name is Stein Brunvan. I'm an associate professor here in the College of Education, Health, and Human Services at the University of Michigan-Dearborn. I am also the director of master's degree programs, so I review all applications for master's degree programs that come into the university. A couple of logistics that I want to go over just so that things will potentially run more smoothly for us tonight. If you could hold all questions until the end of the presentation, that would be great. Unless it's a technical question. If you're having trouble and need to troubleshoot and having problems possibly hearing or something else isn't working right, feel free to post technical questions in the chat room. But otherwise, if you could hold questions till the end, we are going to have a Q&A section, and we'll stick around to answer all of your questions at the end of the formal presentation. This presentation should take about 20 to 25 minutes, and then we will have that Q&A session. If you could please keep your microphones muted, that would be great. Keeping your microphones muted and your cameras off will minimize the amount of distraction during the presentation. We appreciate that. As I mentioned, the UMD personnel that are in the virtual open house tonight are denoted by an @UMD in front of their names, and so look for that when you have questions. We do have representatives here from the Department of Education, Department of Health and Human Services, our Office of Graduate Studies, and Office of Financial Aid. So a colleague of mine, Dr. Burke, Dr. Chris Burke, is going to be talking briefly during the presentation about our EDD and EDS program, because he is a co-director of those programs, so you hear from him in a little bit. And then our personnel from the Office of Graduate Studies. The way applications work here on the Dearborn campus is that all of your applications for graduate studies initially go through the Office of Graduate Studies, and then once they have a complete application packet, they will forward those on to the appropriate person to review and make a decision on admissions. So they certainly know a lot about all of our programs, but particularly about admissions and the application process. So a little bit of information about us. The Dearborn campus was founded in 1959. We are, of course, part of the University of Michigan, and that historic tradition. We have a metropolitan vision here, being located in Southeast Michigan. We do a lot within the communities surrounding the campus, both through coursework and through our research. And we are accredited by the Higher Learning Commission. We're very proud of our high ranking in the U.S. News and World Report and for public universities and regional universities. Specifically, the College of Education, Health, and Human Services. The university is made up of 4 colleges, and the College of Education, Health, and Human Services being one of those. We often refer to ourselves as CHESS, even though we realize that CEHHS, the acronym, doesn't actually spell the word chess. It's just a little bit easier to refer ourselves that way instead of spelling it all out. So the School of Education was established in 1987. We started out as a School of Education, and CHESS then was established in 2013. So we're fairly new as a college. We're made up of 2 departments, the Department of Education and the Department of Health and Human Services. Our teacher preparation program has been accredited by the Teacher Education Accreditation Council, known as TEAC, and the Michigan Department of Education has designated our teacher certification program, teacher preparation program, as exemplary for multiple years running. So there are a variety of reasons why we think you should pick UM Dearborn when you're thinking about graduate studies. I won't read through all of these, but just touch on a few. We've got programs that are designed with working professionals in mind, both in the flexibility of the coursework and the times that courses are offered, and also the fact that we provide courses in fall, winter, and summer. We have small class sizes, and students can generally complete our programs in anywhere from 2 to 5 years. And we have a convenient location and free parking. And what's better than free parking, really? So just a quick overview of tonight's presentation. I'm going to walk through the different graduate programs that we have, talk a little about the application and admissions process, and then provide some information about financial aid as well. And as I mentioned, we'll have that Q&A session at the end of the presentation. We currently have one doctoral program, an ed specialist program, 10 master's programs across the 2 departments, and 3 graduate level certificate programs. So all of our programs are, as I mentioned earlier, oriented towards the working professional. So we have classes that are generally offered in the later afternoon or evening. Our evening classes start at 6 o'clock. And a normal 3-credit class would, if it's an evening class, start at 6 o'clock, end a little bit before 9, and that would meet once a week if it's a face-to-face on-campus class. We also have several online programs, and even some of our face-to-face programs will have some of the required classes that are offered online. So even if you're in a face-to-face program, you might find that you have at least a couple classes that are online within that program. Our specifically online programs, the programs that are fully online, we have 3 of them. There's the MA in Educational Technology, the Master's in Education and Special Education, Specialist and Mild Disabilities concentration, and then the MA in Education with TESOL, or Teaching English to Speakers of Other Languages concentration. I'll talk a little bit more about each of these programs a little bit later, but I just want to point out that these are our online programs. You do also have the option to complete the MA in Education with no additional endorsement, fully online. The reason why we say it can be completed fully online is that program has a bit more flexibility in the courses that you take, and so you would really map out the courses within certain parameters for that program in conjunction with an advisor. And so it is possible to map out a plan of study that could be completed fully online, but it is also possible that your plan of study might involve some face-to-face classes in that particular concentration. I'm going to turn the microphone over to my colleague, Dr. Burke, so he can talk a bit about the EDS and EDD programs.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you for joining us. My name is Chris Burke. I am the co-director of the doctoral program and the ed specialist program. Hoping everybody can still see the PowerPoint. It just went away on my screen. I just want to talk a little bit about the program. It's currently in its 8th year, and we just yesterday had our 22nd successful graduate for the program. There are 3 concentrations for the program. One is in educational leadership, one is in metropolitan education or urban education, and one is in curriculum and practice. And you can come in and be kind of entered into any of these 3 programs, or if you want, you can work with an advisor to kind of build a hybrid program which draws from each of those concentrations. The program takes 60 credit hours. There's 48 credits of coursework and then a 12-credit dissertation for the doctoral program. The ed specialist has the same concentrations, and it is aligned with the doctoral program and draws on a lot of the same courses. Both the ed specialist and the doctoral program can be aligned with the state's central office certification if you wanted to do that as well. I think the next one I want to talk a little bit about is a new program we have that just started this year, and this is a program that I helped develop with one of our doctoral student graduates. It's the Master's in Community-Based Education. The Master's in Community-Based Education is a 30-credit program, and it's designed with 2 audiences in mind. One, we know there are lots of people who are in the community working with youth development, working with nonprofits, and trying to connect with educational organizations and provide educational services for students. And we wanted to work with them to help them understand how to connect with schools, how to connect with teachers, and how to coordinate with teachers. We also know there are lots of teachers in the community who are working to try and connect their practice and their instruction in their classes to activities and to programs that are taking place in the community in ways that kind of allow them to do project-based education or allow them to kind of make their instruction authentic and to connect it and make it meaningful for students. And so we're working in that program to build those connections. I'm going to pass the microphone back to Dr. Brendan now.
Thank you, Dr. Burke. So we'll get back Thank you for sharing that information. Dr. Burke mentioned that the MA in community-based education is a 30 credit hour program, and the majority of our master's programs are 30 credit hours. And in most cases, that equates to 10 classes. So if you figure we have most of our classes are 3 credit classes, then a 30 credit program would be a total of 10 classes. There are some cases where you might have an internship that would be a 1 credit class or some kind of um, uh, shorter duration class such as that. But in most cases, it's 10 classes, 3 credits each for 30 credits. So the next up is the MA in early childhood education. There are 3 different concentrations within this particular degree program. The first one is the early childhood ZS endorsement, and this is for teachers in the state of Michigan who are already certified and want to add the early childhood endorsement to their certification. So it does require that you have a certificate, teaching certificate in the state of Michigan. The early childhood special education inclusion concentration does not require a certificate, and this is designed for people who want to learn more about working with young students who have various special needs. And then the third concentration, which also does not require teaching certification, is the early childhood administration leadership concentration. And as the name implies, that's designed for people who want to work as directors or administrators in preschools or other early childhood centers or institutions. Our MA in Education is also a 30 credit hour program, and it has actually 6 different concentrations. So as I mentioned earlier, the MA in Education with no additional endorsement can be completed online, and that's one option for you. That's for people who, it could be for a K-12 teacher who's not interested in adding an additional endorsement to his or her certificate. It could be for someone who's outside of K-12 education and would just like to deepen their understanding about education, educational philosophy, pedagogy, any number of things. The MA in Education, teaching English to speakers of other languages, is designed to prepare people to work outside of a K-12 environment. It does not require a teaching certificate. So this is for people who want to work with, it could be K-12 students just outside of a K-12 setting, or adult learners who are learning English as a second language. We also have 3 endorsement options within the MA in Education degree. One is the English as a second language. So this differs from the TESOL option in that it is for K-12 teachers. It is for people who are already certified and want to add that endorsement, the ESL endorsement, to their teaching certificate. There's also the K-8 mathematics endorsement, which helps people learn more about teaching of math at those grade levels. And then the reading specialist endorsement, which adds that endorsement to your certificate and qualifies you to work as reading specialists, either as part of pull-out programs in a particular school or district, but also to continue working as a classroom teacher. The final option is the MA in Education, Mathematics, Education Enhancement and Leadership. This is not an endorsement program, so it does not lead to endorsement or certificate. And it's intended more for people who are looking to take leadership type positions within a K-12 setting in the area of mathematics. It could be in curriculum development or possibly as a department head within a math department in a school or district. The MA in Educational Leadership is one of our few programs that's more than 30 credits. It's 33 credit hours. And this is designed for practicing teachers who are already certified who are interested in moving into K-12 administration as principals, most likely. So it does qualify you for the Michigan School Administrator Certificate. You can apply for that certificate after completing this program. And as I mentioned, it does require a teaching certificate in the state of Michigan. The MA in Educational Technology. This is, again, one of our fully online programs. And this is designed for both K-12 teachers as well as folks working outside of K-12 in different educational and instructional capacities. And the program helps people learn how to effectively integrate technology, both in face-to-face environments, blended or hybrid environments, and online environments. So we look at not only different technologies you can use, but how do you use those technologies to enhance the learning experience for students. Another one of our newer programs is the Masters of Science in Health Information Technology. In the field of healthcare, as we all know, it's becoming much more digital, and there's a bigger reliance on technology to maintain patient records, patient data, insurance records, and so forth. And so there's a greater need for IT professionals that can work in a healthcare setting to make sure that all of that information is secure and that it's able to be accessed quickly and safely so that the number of medical mistakes that can be decreased and you can provide effective and efficient healthcare to patients. There is an additional admission requirement for this program, and you must have earned a B or better in micro and macroeconomics prior to admission. Another one of our very new programs is the MA in Program Evaluation and Assessment. And as the name implies, this program is designed for people who are interested in learning more about how to assess programs, how to assess learners, how to assess outcomes in a variety of different situations. So you'll learn how to design and implement assessments and evaluations, how to make sense of data generated through assessment and evaluation, and also then how to interpret that data to be able to make recommendations and decisions based on what's the results of an assessment or an evaluation. Our MS in Science Education is designed for teaching professionals that have either elementary or secondary certificate. There are two different concentrations. The first concentration is for those that are K-8 teachers, and then the second concentration is for 6th through 12th grade teachers. And in both cases, this is designed to help people learn more about effective pedagogy for teaching science and to improve their effectiveness in the classroom in regards to the teaching of science. Our Masters of Education in Special Education has three different concentrations. The first two lead to an additional endorsement, so they require you to have a Michigan teaching certificate. The first one is the emotional impairments endorsement, and the second is the learning disabilities endorsement. So in both cases, those programs meet the requirements of the Michigan Department of Education as far as those endorsements are concerned. The third option, the specialist in mild disabilities, as I mentioned earlier in the presentation, this is one of our online options. So this can be completed fully online. It does not lead to a certification or credential or endorsement of any kind. So this would be for people who, if you're not already certified, are interested in working outside of the K-12 system with students, children who have various disabilities. Our MA in Teaching is a 36 credit hour program. This is the only master's program we have that leads to teaching certification. It is a 36 credit hour program because part of those 36 credits, about a third of those credits, are wrapped up in your student teaching, which Sorry, I think my microphone got muted. So I just want to recap the MA in Teaching in case people missed out on that. That is our only option for getting secondary certification, for getting any kind of teacher certificate, and it's at the secondary level, so grades 6 through 12. You pick a major and minor, and those courses are taken at the undergraduate level. We have a variety of teaching majors and minors to choose from, and an additional admission requirement for that program is passing scores on the Michigan Test for Teacher Certification exam, the MTTC, specifically the Professional Readiness exam. We have currently 3 different certificate options at the graduate level. 2 of those certificate options are closely tied to 2 of our master's programs. The first is the Science, Technology, Engineering, Math, and Medicine Teaching Certificate. So this does not lead to an actual teaching certificate, but it certifies you to, it's a University of Michigan certificate that prepares you to teach more effectively in the STEM areas of science, technology, engineering, math, and medicine. The Teaching English to Speakers of Other Languages, the TESOL, that's a fully online certificate. And it essentially is the same courses you would take in the master's program minus 9 credits that are required as part of the master's program. So you would get all the training and development you need for working with speakers of other languages to teach them English. You just don't end up with the master's degree because you're taking fewer credits. The Certificate of Online Teaching is a core group of classes of 4 classes or 12 credits that are part of the Master's of Arts in Educational Technology. So it prepares you specifically to teach online, but it does not lead to a teaching certificate in the state of Michigan. So it provides you with the knowledge and the skills to teach online, but does not provide you with an actual teaching certificate. So I want to talk a little bit about our admission requirements. For the doctoral and specialist program, because these are post-master's programs, you do need to have an earned master's degree from an accredited institution in order to apply for these programs. We're looking for a minimum GPA of 3.3. For the doctoral program, you must also have taken the GRE, and that needs to have been taken within 5 years of applying for the program because those GRE scores do expire. And then we're looking for at least 3 years of professional experience within your field. Our master's programs, there are a core set of requirements for the master's programs. We have, first of all, a bachelor's degree, of course, is required if you're going to be applying for one of our master's programs. We also are looking for a 3.0 GPA. If you are seeking one of the programs that lead to endorsement or the MA in Educational Leadership, you do need to have a valid teaching certificate in the state of Michigan. And then, as I mentioned earlier, if you are going into the MA in teaching, you need to have passed the MTTC professional readiness exam. There are also some additional requirements for international students, and you can check out those additional requirements at the link provided, and we can talk to you more about those if you have questions during the Q&A session. The application process can be completed online. As I mentioned, our applications initially go to our Office of Graduate Studies, and once there is a complete application, then we can go ahead and have those routed out to the appropriate individuals to review and make admission decisions. I want to remind you the application fee of $60 is being waived for participants of this virtual open house, and we'll waive that through March 9th of 2017. The way that works is that when you get to the point in your application where you're ready to submit your application and it asks you to pay the fee, there should be a box there that you can check saying, I attended the virtual open house. And then what we'll do is we'll check our attendance records for tonight's open house and make sure that your name matches up with our attendance records, and we'll go ahead and waive that fee for you. We're looking for the official transcripts from any institution that you attended. If you have already attended U of M Dearborn, if you're a current or former student, we should be able to pull your transcripts internally. So when you're applying, there will be a spot where you can check and give us permission to pull those transcripts, undergraduate transcripts, internally. You just need to make sure you give us permission to do that. We're asking for a completed statement of purpose, and the statement of purpose is your opportunity to tell us why you think that particular program is right for you, how it fits with your career goals, and it's also a chance to give us a writing sample that we can see. I want to jump back just quickly to the application fee waiver. Because we need to check our records against our attendance records, it's important that you make sure that you listed your full name when you logged in. You can always go back and edit your name if you need to. Remember, there should be a little pencil by your name. You can click on that and make sure we have your full name so that we can accurately match you up when you apply for a program. We ask for 3 letters of recommendation. They should be professional letters of recommendation that can talk about your ability as a potential graduate student. As I mentioned, the Michigan Teaching Certificate for any program that leads to endorsement, or the Ed Leadership Master's Program, we would need that. And then the MTTC test scores for the MA in Teaching program. And of course, for the doctoral program, we would need your GRE scores. We have some application deadlines. The doctoral program, their deadline is March 1st, and they only accept applications for the fall semester. They start as a cohort, and so you can only start that program in the fall. All other graduate programs, including the Ed Specialist program and all the certificate programs, have rolling admissions. So you can start any of those programs in either the fall, winter, or summer. We have some advisory deadlines, and by advisory, we really encourage students to at least get their applications started by these deadlines. If you can't get everything in by those deadlines, it could be possible for us to review your application prior to the semester you want to start. But if you can at least get your application started prior to the deadline, that gives us a better chance of being able to process all your information, review your application, and make a decision on it in time for you to actually register for classes and get started in the semester that you want to start your program. Notice that for international applicants, the deadline is moved up a bit because there's a bit more information that we need to process for international applicants. To give you a sense of what things might cost, we've got a breakdown here. This is for master's students, for a master's program. So for the EDD and EDS, it would be slightly higher. But if you imagine a 3-credit class, so one class would be a little over $2,200 for the tuition. That's for a semester. This assumes that you are a resident of the state of Michigan. If you don't have residency in the state of Michigan, then the tuition would be higher, of course. And you can see it goes up from there. We have a variety of payment plans, including credit cards that we accept, and there's also graduate tuition calculator that's available that you can use to try to better determine what your costs are going to be. There's a variety of financial aid information that we have here. I won't read through all of it, but again, we've got a financial aid representative that is in the open house tonight and can answer questions during the Q&A session. A couple things that I want to point out. First of all, the federal government requires that you be enrolled at least part-time, half-time, in order to be eligible for financial aid. And they define half-time as 4 credit hours. Because of the fact that most of our classes are 3 credit hours, that means that taking 1 class a semester would not actually qualify you for your financial aid. So that's why a lot of our students choose to take at least 2 classes, generally not more than 2 classes if they're working full-time, so they can get above that 4 credit, the minimum that is required to be a half-time student. I also want to point out that you need to be in a degree granting program in order to be eligible for financial aid. And that means that if you're in one of our certificate programs that does not lead to a actual degree, then you wouldn't be eligible for federal financial aid, and that's important to be aware of. There are a variety of scholarships that are currently available, and some of these are very specific. For instance, the Master's in Special Education Scholarship obviously is specific to people within that program. Student teaching, federal teacher loan forgiveness, and the Teach Grant also are specific to people who are in the MAT because it involves teaching in one way or another. You can learn more about the different scholarships online by the link at the top, and at the bottom is where you can apply for different scholarships. I should also mention that we're going to be sharing this entire presentation with everyone afterwards. We will make sure you have access to it so you can access these links more easily that way. So we believe there are many different reasons that makes the U of M Dearborn degree the degree that makes a difference. And we hope that you feel the same, whether it be because of our flexible and convenient course offerings, the connection we have to the metropolitan area here in Southeast Michigan, the diversity of our students, and many other reasons. And we look forward to the prospect of having you all be students here at the University of Michigan-Dearborn. There's my contact information, as well as my colleagues, Dr. Burke, who you heard from earlier, and Dr. Beyer, and also the Grad Studies Office contact information. I'm going to leave my microphone open for a little bit. We're going to go into the Q&A session, and I know that you haven't had a chance to look at this contact information for very long, but because we are going to share the slides with you, I'm going to go ahead and move over to the chat room and see if there are any questions that have been posted recently that I can address before I turn my microphone off. glad to respond to questions individually that people might have about different programs. But I'll just scroll through to see if there are any questions about that I can respond to right now. A lot of technical questions. Looks like we got things worked out, hopefully. So I see a question about sharing fees for out of state. And I'll ask one of the other representatives from university if they could pull up that information, maybe share a link to tuition and fees for out of state. There is a tuition schedule that shows what that would be. The main difference in fees would be the tuition. There isn't a change necessarily in registration fees. It's just a matter of change in tuition. So if someone could go ahead and share that link, that'd be great. It looks like Trista's posted a grad calculator for you. 3 letters of recommendation, are they uploaded directly to site or are they emailed from each of the writers? So there's a form that we ask the recommenders to fill out. And on that form are directions on where they're supposed to send their letters. So they can send those, either mail them, email, or postal mail directly to our grad studies office, and then we'll add them to your application. It has happened though that they turn them directly into the student, and then the student sends them to us. So we can manage either way, but the form that they get that you provide to them does provide information about how to submit their letters. Question about is it recommended to meet with an advisor before applying? You certainly can do that. If that would help you determine which program is best for you, I'd be glad to meet with students to talk over what's available and answer questions that people have. So definitely you can just reach out to me, send me an email, and we can set that up. Question about GPA. I can say that we don't automatically discount someone who has a GPA below a 3.0, and I'm talking about for the master's programs. Not for the EDD and EDS programs. Those have a higher requirement of 3.3. But I look at the entire application, and so again, if you'd want to meet with me and talk over your individual situation, we can either meet in person or via a phone call and talk that over. Are any of the classes for the MA program in community-based education online only? Maybe Dr. Burke can weigh in on that in the chat room. I'm trying to think about the plan of study, and off the top of my head, I can't recall if all the classes in that program. So I can get back to you, or Dr. Burke maybe can answer in the chat here. If an American citizen receives a bachelor's degree overseas, are they considered international? So issues of residency are handled through our central campus in Ann Arbor, and I can ask one of our folks from grad studies to deal with that question. They'd be better able to answer that question because the issues of residency can be a little tricky. There's a question about whether we have webinars or info sessions specifically for different degree programs, and we don't currently. But again, if you'd want to meet with me or set up a time to talk by phone, I'd be glad to do that about the different programs. So Dr. Burke has responded about the community-based education program. There are some that are online, but most of them are face-to-face. And yes, Kelly's asking about can you use ACT scores in place of the pre? And you can, and you need to have taken your ACT earlier than grad studies can help confirm this, but I believe it's is it 88 or 89, 1988 or 89? But it is possible if your ACT scores are high enough, you could. Our fall and winter semesters are 15 weeks in duration, and fall starts in early September and goes through early mid-December, and winter starts in early January and runs into pretty much all nearly through the month of April. Our summer is a little different. You can have 15-week classes, but you can also have classes that are half-term sessions. So they're 7 weeks in duration, but you still do the same amount of work. So it's the same amount of work in half amount of time. And so the summer session 1 generally runs the start time of May and ends right before the 4th of July. And summer session 2 starts then just after 4th of July and runs into August. The assessment program, there's a question about that. That is primarily a face-to-face program, yes. So another question about residency, and so I'll ask grad studies if someone can follow up with a question about residency, because again, that is decided by Ann Arbor. There is a link that looks like Trista has put in about residency. And if someone wants to go ahead and I can actually type in my email address right now. There's my email address, sbrunvan@umich.edu. You can feel free to send an email to me and we can work on setting up an appointment. Kelly, you scored lower in one area than others. I'm assuming you're referring to the ACT. So it is possible that your scores could qualify you to be exempt from part of the basic skills, but not all of it, because the basic skills of the pre is broken up into 3 categories: math, reading, and writing. So it is possible that your ACT scores, if they're high enough in each area, they could exempt you from all 3, or just 2 of the areas, or just 1 of the areas. So yes, it is possible to do any combination there. Question about applying to 2 master's programs. We do ask you to pick one program to apply for at a time, and because when we're looking at applications, some programs might have slightly different requirements, and we really need students to pick one in particular when you apply. It is possible to change your degree concentration once you've been admitted. We don't encourage students to change frequently and do that a lot, because it can be an inefficient way, of course, to work through a program. And there are also issues, excuse me, with transferring credits. So I'm going to turn off my microphone right now in case I see some other questions come in. We'll continue to respond to questions in the chat room as you have them. And again, thank you for your time and attention tonight. I'll stop sharing my screen as well, but we appreciate everyone participating tonight.